Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. My sister and I were reborn on the day when the Henry family proposed a marriage alliance in the living room. Our parents were sitting on the sofa, looking at my sister and me seriously. "Anna, Alice, it's not that your parents don't love you. The project our family has just taken over now needs funds for turnover. The Henry family's proposal of a marriage alliance at this time can just solve our urgent problem. Besides, the Henry Group is one of the top enterprises in City A. Their family has a strict family style. Henry is a handsome and talented man. He can be regarded as a good match." After saying that, our parents' eyes shifted to me, expecting that I would take the initiative to speak up. In my previous life, as my parents expected, I took the initiative to agree to their request and married into the Henry family. But this time, my sister stood up first and said to our parents, "Dad, Mom, as the eldest daughter, I should be the one to have the marriage alliance." My father hesitated for a while and then tried to persuade her. "Anna, have you thought it through? Marriage is a major event in life and not something to be trifled with or joked about." "I've thought it through. I want to marry Henry," my sister said firmly. "Moreover, Mum and Dad have raised me for so many years. Now that the company is in trouble, it's time for me to contribute to the family." She tugged at my hand and showed me a brilliant smile that was almost complacent. "Alice also hopes that I can find a good destination." I didn't miss the fleeting thread in her eyes and nodded in agreement with her words. "Of course, I hope that sister can live a good life. The Henry family is wealthy and powerful and will surely treat sister well." My father looked at my sister's determined expression, pondered for a moment, and finally agreed. I knew in my heart that my sister was not the kind of person who was willing to sacrifice herself, but I didn't expose her. I knew that she wanted to follow the path I took in my previous life. In my previous life, after I accepted the marriage alliance, my sister inherited the family company. However, my sister neither had the talent to manage the company nor the intention to run it properly. Under her management, the company was poorly operated, the capital chain was broken, and it was on the verge of bankruptcy. After I married Henry, not only did I have no worries about food and clothing, but I also entered the Henry Group and became a senior executive. She tried every means to come to me and wanted the Henry family to help save the company's losses, but she happened to see the scene where Henry was sending me to the car. Sitting in the car, my sister was consumed by jealousy. In a fit of anger, she stepped on the accelerator and rushed straight towards the car where I was. "Why should you enjoy wealth and luxury while I can only deal with this mess at home? If it hadn't been for you snatching it away first, I should have been the one who married Henry." Both my sister and I fell into a pool of bitterness. In this rebirth, my sister immediately chose to have a marriage alliance with the Henry family before I did. Obviously, having such a precious chance to start over, she chose a man in marriage instead. Well, that's okay. In this way, I also have the opportunity to start my brand new life. I took out my mobile phone, found an avatar of someone I hadn't contacted for a long time, and sent a message. "Ethan, is the invitation you mentioned before still valid?" On the weekend, our parents arranged a dinner with the people from the Henry family. The couple from the Henry family were a middle-aged man and woman in their 40s. They were dressed very elegantly. Behind them was a young man in his 20s. He wore a pair of glasses and had a gentle smile. This was Henry. I could never forget this face. In the middle of the night, when I had nightmares, he appeared in all of my nightmares. The moment I saw him, I couldn't help but shiver. He was smiling like this when he forced the plastic hose into my throat to make me vomit. I had just eaten a little more at dinner and gained half a kilo when I stepped on the scale. Then he dragged me to the bathroom and forced me to vomit out all the food. The disgusting feeling of the vomit flowing back seemed to burn my throat again. I shook my head to shake off the shadow of my previous life, patted my chest, and comforted myself that it was okay now. Since Henry appeared, my sister's eyes had been fixed on him. Immediately, Henry's mother carefully examined my sister and finally nodded after a while. "Is this Anna?" My sister lowered her head shyly at the right time and said, "Hello, Aunt Emma." "Not bad." There was a shrewd glint in Henry's mother's eyes. "She's quite a match for our Henry." She picked up the hot tea prepared in advance on the dining table and wiped her hands. "Our family doesn't have many rules, but those that should be followed must be followed when you marry into our family. I'll tell you one by one." Hearing this, my sister was immediately overjoyed. Although Henry's mother sounded a bit old-fashioned, the meaning of her words was that her marriage to Henry was a sure thing. I was just eating the food in my bowl by myself and didn't say anything. When I married into the Henry family in my previous life, Henry's mother criticized me for being from a humble family and having no upbringing. She also took out such a set of rules and asked me to abide by them strictly. Her rules ranged from reporting every trip outside to the specific standards for body shape and weight, nailing down every detail of my life. Once I violated one of the rules, Henry's mother would punish me by not allowing me to eat under the pretext of image management and asking me to control my weight. Henry even inherited his mother's controlling desire. Instead of stopping it, he went further and demanded more from me. They forced me to delete the contact information of all my friends and cut off my connection with the outside world whenever I had the slightest thought of resistance. What awaited me was the dark and gloomy storeroom. As for Henry's father, that man who didn't care about the family, he only cared about gains and losses. He turned a blind eye to every one of my resistances and cries for help. I endured the long torture as if every second was a year and was almost driven mad. Finally, I learned to hide my emotions, pretended to obey, and persuaded Henry to let me work in the Henry Group, signing one business deal after another. Only then did they start to take me seriously. I looked at my sister and couldn't help sneering again and again. She was only happy and didn't understand the hidden meaning in Henry's mother's words at all. During dinner, the two families finalized the marriage. After leaving the restaurant, I checked the time shown on my mobile phone and then went to a coffee shop as agreed. As soon as I entered the coffee shop, I saw the man sitting by the window at a glance. "Ethan, sorry I'm late." Ethan was a senior of mine at the same university. He majored in traditional Chinese medicine. I got to know him when I participated in club activities. We hit it off with several other members in the club and gradually became good friends. After graduation, Ethan planned to start his own business and extended an offer to me. However, I was busy with my graduation thesis at that time and didn't accept it. Immediately after marrying Henry in my previous life, Ethan's invitation came to nothing. Later, because of Henry's abnormal controlling desire, I was forced to delete Ethan's contact information along with that of other friends. This time, it was my sister who had the marriage alliance, and I finally had the opportunity to accept Ethan's invitation. "Don't worry, it's great that you could come." He shook his head indifferently. "The company is nearby. Let me take you upstairs to have a look around first. Then I'll leave it to you." I followed Ethan into the office building next to the coffee shop. When I pushed open the door of the office, before I had time to observe the surrounding environment, a petite girl ran towards me. "Alice, long time no see." I recognized her voice immediately. She was a junior of mine and also a member of the club. The others in the office were also attracted by the commotion and came up to greet me one after another. Some of them were old friends, while others were new faces I hadn't seen before. While showing me around, Ethan introduced to me that the company didn't have many members. The core was mainly composed of the friends we got to know in the calligraphy club. The company mainly focused on beauty products for healthy skincare. The team consisted of several researchers who graduated from the major of traditional Chinese medicine. I majored in economics, so Ethan planned to invite me to be responsible for the company's operation and management. After introducing the company to me, He extended his hand to me solemnly again. Alice, welcome to join us. After going through the onboarding process, Han sent me home. Life became busy. I rented an apartment near the company and devoted myself wholeheartedly to work. In my previous life, after marrying into the Henry family, I persuaded Henry to let me work in the company. With desperate efforts, I finally climbed to the position of a senior executive in the company step by step. In this life, those precious work experiences enabled me to adapt to my current job quickly. My parents didn't care that I had found another job. They had already given 1/3 of their shares under their names as my sister's dowry, and they didn't seem to hope that I would enter the company's management either. My sister's wedding was extremely grand. After getting married, she stayed in City A and lived with the Henry family. Only on holidays did she come back with Henry. I was also called back by my parents for a dinner. My mother cooked a table of delicious dishes, all of which my sister used to love. My sister was sitting beside Henry, looking much thinner. My mother came out of the kitchen with a dish in her hand. "Anna, it's rare for you to come home. Mom has cooked your favorite sweet and sour spare ribs. Eat more." "Yes, look at how thin you've become." Dad immediately picked up a piece of spare rib and put it into my sister's bowl. Mom bought the spare ribs early in the morning. They're very fresh. My sister looked at the table full of delicious food with a pained expression. "Thank you, Dad, but I'm on a diet recently." She ate very slowly, looking like she had no appetite at all. This look was very familiar to me. It was the symptom of anorexia. In my previous life, after being forced to vomit many times, I also suffered from the same illness. "Dieting? You're already so thin. Why are you still on a diet?" Dad frowned unhappily. "Figure management is very important. We can't slack off even for a day." My sister put down her chopsticks and turned the topic to me. "As for Alice, if you don't manage your weight well, be careful that no man will take a fancy to you. What is it now? I have my own hands and feet and can support myself." I took another bite indifferently, as I was suddenly mentioned. "Mom has cooked a table of delicious dishes. I'm going to eat more." "Sister, are you really not going to eat at all?" "Yes, Anna, no matter how much you want to lose weight, you should at least eat a little," Mom also persuaded. Following my words, she wouldn't have thought that for my sister's current state, the more she ate, the more uncomfortable she would feel. "Mom's spare ribs are so delicious. Sister, didn't you like them the most before? It's okay to eat one piece. It won't make you gain weight," I said and put another piece of spare rib into my sister's bowl. But my sister still wanted to decline, and before she could say anything, I interrupted her. "Sister, it's rare for you to come back. Don't let Mom and Dad's kindness go to waste." Mom and Dad also looked at my sister expectantly, hoping that their daughter, who had finally come home, could eat a bite of her favorite food. My sister looked at the spare rib in her bowl with embarrassment and then glanced at Henry, seeing that he didn't have any intention to help her out. She had no choice but to pick up the spare rib and take a bite. Before she chewed a few times, my sister suddenly felt nauseous. She put down her chopsticks and rushed into the bathroom, locking the door behind her. Even so, the sound of my sister vomiting in the bathroom could be heard clearly. Mum and Dad looked worried. Mum got up and knocked on the bathroom door. "Anna, how are you? Are you okay?" "No, I'm okay." My sister's voice was hoarse. She was feeling so sick from vomiting, but still forced herself to respond to Mom. "Mum, you go and have dinner. I'll take care of it." Henry brought a glass of water and stood behind Mom. "Anna might have eaten something too greasy all of a sudden and doesn't feel well." Henry's show of concern didn't seem fake, so Mom finally sighed and went back to the dining table. At this dinner, except for me, none of the others could finish the meal properly. The next morning, Henry said that my sister wasn't feeling well and took her back early. As days passed by, I became more and more proficient at my job. The initial investment in research and development couldn't keep up. I took out my savings and proposed to invest and become a shareholder. With a stable cash flow, and with me taking over the company's operational affairs, Ethan and the others were finally able to focus all their attention on research and development. The progress of research and development accelerated a lot, and our company's business grew bigger and bigger. The brand reputation gradually became well known. There was a business dinner in Cydia recently, and our company was also invited. I went on a business trip to CIA on behalf of the company. I originally planned to go to the shopping mall to buy 2 sets of replacement clothes, but unexpectedly ran into an acquaintance. My sister looked even thinner and more haggard than the last time I saw her. She followed behind Henry's mother, being so submissive that she didn't dare to make a sound. I hadn't seen my sister post anything on Moments for a long time. I'm afraid her mobile phone had already been controlled by Henry's mother and Henry. She had to get the approval of these 2 people before sending any messages. "You are Henry's wife and the daughter-in-law of our Henry family. Look at you now. How can you show up in public?" Henry's mother said to my sister, who was following behind her while picking out clothes, "If our family hadn't been willing to take you in, how could you have the chance to enjoy such a good life?" My sister kept agreeing behind her and didn't dare to refute a single word. She didn't even have the strength to refute. She was so weak that she had to take a couple of breaths after walking just a few steps. Henry's mother picked up a piece of clothing and held it against my sister's body for a couple of times. My sister's expression froze instantly. I's mother often held clothes against her body like this, asking her to control her figure in order to lose weight. She accepted the half-suggested and half-forced vomiting from Henry and his mother. The anorexia caused by long-term vomiting made her weight drop rapidly, which in turn led to the dissatisfaction of this mother and son. Suddenly increasing the amount of food aggravated her anorexia, but just because she said no, she was locked in the storeroom to reflect on herself. She didn't know exactly how long she had stayed in the storeroom. The silent and dark enclosed space magnified all the discomforts of her body, and the loneliness almost suffocated her. Whenever she thought of those days, her face turned terribly pale. Henry's mother received a phone call. Probably there was something important. She gave my sister a few instructions and then left in a hurry. My sister let out a sigh of relief. As soon as she turned her head, she saw me entering the store to shop. She immediately put away the flattering look she had just shown to Henry's mother and came arrogantly towards me. "Why are you here?" "Why can't I be here?" I asked back while picking out clothes. "Didn't you go to work for a small startup company? How much money can that kind of company pay you?" Her voice was a bit hoarse. Perhaps the long-term vomiting had damaged her vocal cords. "Don't blame me for not warning you. This store is not affordable for people like you from the working class." "I'm from the working class. Then what about you, sister? Don't you even have a job?" I stopped what I was doing and looked at my sister sarcastically. "I'm Mrs. Henry now. Why do I need to work?" "I have a husband who is willing to spend money on me." She raised the supplementary card given by Henry, pointed at the several pieces of clothes that Henry's mother had just picked out, and said to the salesperson, "Wrap these up for me, please." "Okay, just a moment, please." The salesperson took the supplementary card from her hand, handed it to the cashier to calculate the total price, and swiped the card. She was quick and soon packed the clothes and handed them to her, along with the receipt and the supplementary card. Less than a minute later, my sister's mobile phone rang. When she saw the note on the caller ID, her expression became even more complacent. She deliberately cleared her throat and sweetly called out to the other end of the phone. "Honey, what's up?" Henry's voice came from the phone. "Did you buy something?" "Yes. Mum took me out to buy clothes, but she seemed to have something urgent and left first. It's rare for me to come out, so I want to buy 2 pieces of clothes before going back." "Got it. I won't be back for dinner tonight. You go back early then." The call ended. A trace of disappointment flashed across my sister's face. Realizing that I was still there, she quickly restrained her expression and regained the arrogance she had just shown. Why are you looking at me? Are you envious that I have such a good husband like Henry? I'm telling you, he's your brother-in-law. You'd better behave yourself. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. A good husband who has to ask about buying 2 pieces of clothing with his card. You're just jealous. She looked at me with disdain. I'm afraid you can't afford a single piece of clothing here, even if you spend all your monthly salary. Really? I handed the several pieces of clothing I had picked out to the salesperson and took out a card from my bag. Please check out for me. My sister folded her arms and watched me, waiting gleefully for my astonishment when I heard the checkout price. The salesperson took the dresses from my hand. The moment she saw the card, she immediately put on a more enthusiastic smile. Miss Alice, I'll check out for you right away. Please wait a moment. She gave a wink to another salesperson, and that salesperson also quickly walked up. Miss Alice, we've prepared tea and snacks for you. You can wait in the lounge. This store is a luxury brand with a simple and elegant design style, and it's also my first choice that I often patronize. The card I handed out was exactly the card of the store. No thanks. I smiled and waved my hand, then turned to my sister and said, even if I spend all my salary, it's still my own money. At least it's not like you, who have to be questioned when buying a piece of clothing. Where did you get so much money? The threshold of this store is not low. My sister had a shocked expression. After thinking for a moment, she looked at me with contempt again. Could it be that you're doing something shady? Sister, I put away my smile. If you spread rumors randomly without evidence, you'll be legally responsible. While we were talking, the salesperson had already brought the packaged clothes to me. I thanked her softly and left straight away. My sister was left speechless and could only watch my back as it disappeared into the distance. The business dinner in City A was held in the most luxurious hotel. The invited guests were all powerful enterprises that were famous in the industry. Although our company couldn't yet be compared with those industry benchmarks, it was developing rapidly and was truly a rising star with a promising future. Seeing that I was invited to attend, many guests who were familiar with me took the initiative to come and talk to me. I greeted the clients I had cooperated with before and dealt with the guests who came to chat with me. Finally, I had a moment to catch my breath. Just when I was about to find a corner to take a break, a slightly harsh voice rang in my ear. When did this banquet become so low class that people like you can also sneak in? I looked up, and it was indeed my sister who came. I noticed that Henry was chatting with others not far away. Presumably, my sister had come with Henry. What kind of people am I asked her back. You didn't receive an invitation but could accompany Henry to attend. I received an invitation. Why can't I come? My sister snorted coldly. Who knows how you got the invitation? She looked around, and her gaze lingered on the female companions of several guests. With a hint in her tone, she said, Who knows? Maybe it's the same as them, even if the other person is twice their age. As long as you can make that person happy, won't you still get whatever you want? I sighed, put the wine glass aside, not wanting to argue with her anymore, and got up to leave. What's the matter? Feeling guilty? My sister immediately reached out to stop me. Or are you eyeing the next target and going to hook a wealthy husband? Sister, I've told you that spreading rumors comes with responsibilities. My face darkened, and I was just about to push my sister's hand away when someone else moved even faster than I did. My sister saw who it was and immediately took his arm, affectionately leaning against his side. Henry, are you done with your talk? Yeah, Henry replied casually, but when he looked at me, his attitude changed. This is Anna's sister Alice, right? Since your sister returned to the city, we haven't seen each other for a long time. I didn't expect to meet you here. I waved my hands repeatedly and involuntarily took a step back. President Henry, there's no need to get close to me. This is a work occasion. I don't want to talk about anything other than work here. All right, since you don't want to talk about personal matters, then let's talk about work. He smiled and extended his hand to me, gesturing for me to sit on the sofa and talk slowly, completely ignoring that my sister was still standing beside him. Our company intends to venture into the health preservation industry and has long wanted to cooperate with your company. Henry was about to introduce more when my sister tugged at his sleeve. Henry, why are you telling her so much? Isn't she here today to look for a rich patron? Nonsense, Henry scolded harshly. Alice was specially invited by the Chamber of Commerce to attend this banquet. Do you think everyone is like you, with long hair but short sight? My sister was startled by the sudden angry shout. Her eyes turned red, and tears welled up in the corners of her eyes. But what about her? Henry shook off my sister's hand that was holding his arm and sneered. Look at your sister. She's now accomplished and so beautiful. And look at you, Skinny, lacking both temperament and knowledge. How can you be worthy of the position of Mrs. Henry? Seeing that my sister was about to cry again, I quickly took the opportunity to leave. Alice, don't leave yet. It's rare for you to come. Let me treat you to a meal. Henry saw that I was leaving and left my sister behind, chasing after me. If you're in a hurry, my car is in the parking lot. I'll drive you there. I quickened my pace and finally managed to get rid of Henry. Leaning back in the driver's seat, I let out a long sigh of relief. My sister was left alone in the banquet hall by Henry. She stared blankly at Henry's back as he chased after me. She also wanted to catch up with him, but her legs felt weak and she was powerless to do so. Alice, why? Is it that Henry still likes you even after starting all over again? She gritted her teeth with hatred. Obviously, I'm the legitimate Mrs. Henry, Henry's wife. Was I not pretty enough, or was I not charming enough to please him? Countless possibilities flashed through my sister's mind, and finally, she came to a conclusion. Yes, I'll give birth to a child for Henry. As long as there's a child, Henry won't fall in love with someone else. She wiped away her tears and unconsciously clenched her fists. After discussing with Henry's mother hired professional doctors and nutritionists to help my sister take care of her body. The Henry family still wanted an heir. Due to long-term dieting to lose weight and the resulting damage to her body, my sister put a lot of effort into conditioning her body. After receiving medical treatment, her anorexia improved a lot, but the suffering she endured didn't decrease at all. Besides taking medicine every day, she also had to have regular acupuncture and injections. After suffering for 3 months, she finally got pregnant. She had thought that Henry would stay by her side from then on and get ready to be a father. Unexpectedly, Henry booked a plane ticket early in the name of a business trip and stayed temporarily in Penang. At first, he still came to my company to talk with me in the name of cooperation. But when I heard the plan he proposed, it was obviously made up on the spur of the moment, with only an empty framework and almost zero feasibility. I resolutely refused to cooperate with him on business. Unexpectedly, Henry directly started to court me, asking the receptionist to send me flowers and gifts every day. Of course, all these things ended up in the company's trash bin. In the end, I couldn't bear the disturbance and strictly ordered the security guards to remember his face and not allow him to step into the company's gate again. Having been repeatedly rebuffed, Henry had no choice but to return to City A. My sister still couldn't keep the baby. Given her physical condition, being able to get pregnant was already a good result. Hearing that Henry had abandoned her and flown to Jinchang to show his affection for me frequently, she was so angry that she had symptoms of threatened miscarriage when the baby was less than 3 months old. Before the operation, Henry's mother took away her mobile phone and didn't allow her to contact her parents. Jinchang was far away from City A, and her parents had no idea about her situation at all. In the ward, my sister lay weakly on the bed. She had just been pushed out of the operating room, and her face was terribly pale. Henry's mother came to see her and only told her to take good care of herself and get pregnant again as soon as possible. Henry didn't want to see her at all, making excuses that he was too busy with work to come to the hospital. They didn't hire a nurse and just left my sister alone in the ward to recover. My sister struggled to get out of bed and moved into the bathroom. She looked at herself in the mirror and fell into despair. The person in the mirror was haggard, with deep-set eyes. Originally, after her anorexia improved, she had a normal nutritional intake and gained some weight, returning to a normal weight. But then, the morning sickness brought on by pregnancy hit her hard again, making her even thinner than before. She lifted her belly, and the skin was full of needle marks left by the treatments. Her belly was also bruised and purple. My sister slumped to the ground, staring blankly at the mirror, unable to believe that the person in front of her was actually herself. Now, Henry's mother only regarded her as a childbearing tool for the Henry family, and Henry had already tired of her and wished she would disappear. Her own parents were far away in their hometown and had no idea how much she had suffered. Only Alice, her sister, was living a carefree life, just like in her previous life. Deep hatred welled up in my sister's eyes. Ignoring the pain in her lower abdomen, she struggled to stand up. "President Alice, there's a guest downstairs who claims to be your sister." My assistant knocked on the door of my office. "Anna? Wasn't she in the CIA? Why did she suddenly come to the company to look for me?" "Take me to have a look." The assistant led me to the reception room. In the reception room, my sister was sitting on the sofa with her head bowed. She looked in a terrible state of mind. When she saw me coming, she raised her head and gave me a weak smile. "Here you are." Something was wrong. This wasn't my sister's usual style. She usually treated me arrogantly. Why was she smiling at me now? I noticed that since I entered the room, she had been keeping one hand behind her back the whole time. I ignored my sister and immediately backed away to the door, giving an order to the bodyguard standing there. 2 burly bodyguards nodded and moved swiftly. They pinned my sister down from both sides. My sister couldn't dodge in time and couldn't resist the strength of the 2 strong men. In just a moment, she was restrained by the bodyguards. Clang! A knife fell from her hand and dropped to the ground. I sighed inwardly. With the incidents from my past life, and Henry's persistent pestering some time ago, of course, I wouldn't remain indifferent. Before Henry left Jinchang, I had already hired 2 bodyguards. My sister was pinned down by the bodyguards and couldn't move. She could only shout at me, "Alice, did you already know the true faces of the mother and son in the Henry family? No wonder you just watched me marry into that family." She twisted her body, trying to struggle, but was pressed down even harder. "It's all because of you that I've become like this." She wanted to continue cursing, but I had already dialed the police number. Our company was only 5 minutes away from the nearest police station. After receiving the report, the police arrived quickly and took my sister away. In the end, my sister was sentenced to 2 years in prison for attempted assault with a knife. My parents wanted to persuade me to withdraw the lawsuit, but I directly refused, blocking and blacklisting them all at once. After the lawsuit was over, I didn't take the initiative to pay attention to my sister's news anymore. The company was about to go public, and there were twice as many things to be busy with. The Henry family immediately filed for divorce from my sister and also stopped maintaining a cooperative relationship with my family. My parents called me several times after changing their numbers. I was always traveling around different places and didn't have a fixed long-term residence, so they couldn't find me and could only call me. My sister was already in prison. Even though her sentence was short, it still left a stain. Even if she went back to work in our family's company, with her record, it would be hard for her to convince others. Not to mention that after the Henry family withdrew their investment, our already sluggish business became even more depressed. The company had been producing according to the original model, but with the development of the times, it had already been left behind and was now on the verge of bankruptcy. My parents could only pin their hopes on me, hoping that I could inherit their company and support them in their old age. I resolutely refused and changed my phone number. I'll transfer the required pension to their cards on time, As for the rest, since childhood, my parents had only provided me with the material conditions enough for me to survive. I didn't want to, and I didn't have the extra energy to give them both material and spiritual returns at the same time. It wasn't entirely because of my sister's incident that the Henry family cancelled the cooperation. Unable to keep up with the development of the times, the Henry Group was also gradually on the decline. They didn't have the extra funds to support a company on the verge of bankruptcy, so it was understandable that they withdrew their investment. At the celebration banquet for the company's listing, I clinked glasses one by one with the founders and drained the wine in my glass. Tomorrow I'll fly abroad. The company is about to expand its international business, and there are still many things waiting for me to be busy with. A better life is waiting for me in the future.